Wildest.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? You want to answer?
No,
How are
you're
you,
asking
Connor?
me. I am great. How are you, Maya?
Good. I'm pretty good. This episode is going to be a lot. It has come highly requested. A lot of people have asked, both you and I and this podcast, what we think about the direwolf situation.
Oh.
That's right, everybody. We are doing an episode on the direwolf situation. And man, is it a freaking doozy.
Do you have like a concrete formulated opinion on this?
No.
I don't either.
I have a lean.
I am just looking at this with a lot of curiosity.
Sure.
And skepticism.
That's valid. Okay, so I'm sure you guys already know what we're talking about. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there is a company called Colossal Biosciences. They have claimed to de-extinct the direwolf. Let's start square one. What is that? What is a direwolf?
A direwolf?
Yes.
Crazy old wolf. Sorry.
Crazy old wolf. Yeah, so it's a large canid wolf.
From Game of Thrones.
No, it existed for real. Just over 10,000 years ago, okay? It also has been popularized by media like Game of Thrones. But in Game of Thrones, here's a photo. In Game of Thrones, it's much larger than we believe they actually were, right? Like, it's just like direwolves IRL were like the size of large gray wolves. Not this big, but people love them, or people love the idea of them.
Gray wolves are at its largest, 6 foot long, nose to tail, 100 pounds. A direwolf, they think that the ones that they created will be 6 foot as well, but 150 pounds, so 50 pounds larger.
Yeah.
Bigger.
It's big.
Bigger jaws, bigger skull, 129% more bite force than a gray wolf.
Yes. So, Colossal Biosciences is a Dallas-based biotech company. I didn't know that they were in Dallas. They claim they used deaf genetic engineering and ancient DNA to breed 3 direwolf puppies and to de-extinct the species. And people ate it up.
Yep.
It's all over the place. Time did this special piece on it. Every news outlet ever has done a piece on it. Every news anchor ever has talked about it. Dramatic. But you know what I mean? It's
every science
everywhere.
nature person has talked about it, including us now.
The amount of people that have sent me links or TikToks or been like, look what they're doing, Maya. Look at this. I don't know about you, but it was like a lot.
I've got it. And I've seen like every louder vocal like wolf or wildlife person or center or conservation place say something about this.
Yes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Well, the most interesting thing to me, I think, was doing the research for this podcast was the most like video-based research I've ever done.
Sure.
Because it's so well covered in media and everyone has something to say about it. Because normally when we do research for World's Wildest, our jobs, Connor and I are science communicators, right? At the end of the day, we are reading publications and research papers and articles and stuff like that, and then translating it into something that you guys want to listen to in this video audio format. This stuff is everywhere. Like YouTubers are talking about it, whatever. I must have watched like 20 videos today on this, which is super abnormal for normal research. Connor, how did they do this?
Oh, crazy. Okay, so there's a few breakthroughs I do want to talk about. And then we'll get back to like maybe towards the end, we'll probably give our leans or our 2 cents on it.
Sure.
But just to break it down. Okay, so first off, they were able to scrape DNA from a, how old was it? A 13,000-year-old tooth found in a pit in Ohio, and another piece of ear bone was unearthed in American Falls, Idaho, that was 72,000 years old. They were able to get more viable DNA from the older fossil than the younger one, which is crazy. So, to be able to harvest DNA that's that old, they've been able to do a lot of stuff here that has been done before in much smaller scales at other institutions. And I do want to say, and they did mention in their video that they've been building off of a lot of other research facilities, institutions, and government-funded science. So they're not taking credit for like, we're just reinventing or we're inventing all this new stuff. No, they're doing it at a scale that we haven't seen before. So taking that super old DNA and then sequencing it so they can see what those genes are and how it differs from a gray wolf and from all this other kind of stuff, it is really hard to do, insane. And then they were able to go in and edit. It was Create the Direwolf called for making just 20 edits in 14 genes, the common gray wolf. So they were able to tweak these genes to produce a white coat, a larger size wolf, more powerful shoulders, wider head, larger teeth, jaws, more muscular legs, and characteristic vocalizations, especially the howling and whining.
Pause, Connor. Did they take this gene and put it into a gray wolf?
There is no direwolf DNA in this direwolf, technically.
Right.
It is all gray wolf DNA that has been modified to show the characteristics of a direwolf. So really, this is a synthetic species.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, so guys, think like copy-paste. They compared two genes. They were like, what makes a direwolf look like this? What makes a gray wolf look like this? Okay, we're going to take this stuff then, and we're going to put it into the gray wolf so that it looks like a direwolf, right?
Yeah, it changes some nucleotides.
Yes. So example, that Connor said they have a light coat. These three direwolf, we're going to say direwolf. Imagine we're putting air quotes around it.
Yeah.
Audio listeners. These direwolf babies are white, like their coat is white or light. Lightly colored. Direwolf has 3 genes to code for its light coat, right? The genes, though, can lead to deafness and blindness in gray wolves.
Oh, you went to the genetic side of you went deep into this. Okay, nice.
So they obviously don't want to just like cut paste that. So instead, they engineered 2 other genes that shut down black and red pigmentation so that they get a similar lighter color without causing harm to the edited gray wolf genome.
Which is
excellent.
A great ethical choice that has not been done normally. It's hard to do.
Very clever.
It's
and
smart.
Great for their welfare. Good and very responsible that they're avoiding deafness and blindness in gray wolves. I'm just using this example to show you guys that it's not inserting it, it's copying it or trying to make it look like a direwolf, right? Not the same.
And I think I want to dive into that a little bit later too, about that, because that's a whole nother discussion, and how they marketed that, which is kind of not the best marketing for it.
Yes.
But anyway, okay, so here's the other thing that they did. So they use CRISPR. I don't know if you guys are familiar with CRISPR. It's a way to edit genes to insert a new genetic code into a cell, and the cell replicates that. Cool. And then you can clone it and all that. So before, from my understanding of CRISPR and how it's done at scale, was single gene editing. And that takes a long time. And when you have to do 20 edits in 14 genes, that's going to take you a really long time. And these guys were founded in 2021, and they're trying to move fast here. So they deployed a new technique where they could multi-gene edit in one go, which is huge for a cancer research perspective, for cloning, for designer babies. Like, we get into this, it takes genetic modification to a whole nother level. Hopefully we use it for good. But we're humans, so I'm sure there will be some people that won't. But as a whole, I think another reason that they're doing this and where they can make money off of this, because they're not going to make a lot of money off of like conservation stuff, is cancer research, selling this and doing spin-off companies where they can do cancer, making cancer fighting drugs with this, which is super cool.
Have they talked about doing that? Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
There's been some spin-off technologies and companies that have come out of this. They have a whole nother company that's a part of the parent company that is using AI to sequence and look at all these genetics and the genes and see how they can edit them and what editing will do to them, so they can model what the outcome of
Right.
that gene would be. And it's like a whole AI big push,
Right.
whatnot, which is crazy. Anyway, that's like a 2-hour talk on that with that kind of tech. It's crazy. The other thing, so yeah, they were able to do this. They created a cell with this quote unquote direwolf genome in it, and then they implanted it into a surrogate mother, and the surrogate mother
was a domestic dog, a hound mix.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they just picked like a large, healthy domestic dog.
And then they did a cesarean section to get it out because live births are dangerous. And I've been a part of
two domestic hound mixes.
Oh.
2 moms.
There was they had a set of the first wolves were Romulus and Remus, and then later, a few months later, they had Khaleesi.
Yes.
From Game of Thrones.
Yep.
So doing a C-section. I did a C-section for the UGA Bulldog line of bulldogs at the clinic I worked at in Georgia. And you have to do C-sections because it's just safer for those animals. And it's kind of crazy how you have to do it. Long story short, it is the best way to do it. But like it does bring a lot of risks into it.
They did. No, they didn't have any miscarriages or stillbirths, so they did well throughout this process. And I do think that they did it with the welfare of these puppies in mind.
I do want to talk about it because it's kind of cool what they're doing with the welfare here in a second. Can I say the last thing that they did was really cool? So So the other thing was like how they kind of at scale changed up how they're harvesting cells. So I have experience harvesting and replicating stem cells. We used to do it at the animal clinic, like the last 6 months that I was there, where you would put a animal under anesthesia, go in, harvest their fat, and then you get the stem cells out of it, grow those stem cells, and then the animal come out of the procedure. Next day would go back under, which is not safe for. Like it does increase risk and complications when you do 2 surgeries basically back to back. But you had to do it for the stem cells. And then we would go and replace a knee or a hip and inject the stem cells into those sites. And those replacements would last double as long for those animals.
Okay.
Which is huge. But the hard part is like, yeah, you don't want to do a procedure to harvest stem cells and then bring them back for a surgery. Right. So instead what they did was for the first time at scale, they were able to harvest the cells from the blood. So just a little blood draw. So they isolated the EPCs, I'm saying that wrong, EPC cells from the blood and not tissue samples for the first time. So that was really cool that they could get these EPCs out of the blood and grow that at scale and fast. Yeah. Huge. Sorry. Okay, that's my nerd out. Where do you want to go with this next?
Cool. I think so. We've moved through what is a direwolf? How did they get them? Is it really a direwolf? Actually, no. I love this. Hank Green has made a couple videos on this. We've watched both, I assume. Hank Green made a video about this, and then he made a video correcting his first video slightly and talking about it more.
Yeah, 1 point.
Barely.
Yeah.
Sick integrity, though.
Yeah, sure.
Sick guy. One of the things he said in the second video was, did you hear the tomato fish remark that he made? He was talking about, he was like, is this a direwolf? No, like it's a gray wolf that looks more like a direwolf. Like we've seen fish genes spliced into tomatoes. It doesn't make the tomato a fish.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, so
nice.
Just like a side note, so there was a time where we were trying to genetically modify tomatoes to be more frost resistant.
Okay.
And so we spliced some genes from Arctic winter flounders into the tomato because they have like anti-freeze capabilities essentially because they survive in cold waters. And the goal was to make tomatoes more frost resistant. So like we put those genes in there, and no, that doesn't make a tomato a fish. If that helps you understand, does it?
Sure.
Maybe. If it doesn't, I think it's kind of funny. Anyway,
it's a synthetic species, and I think there was a big marketing push.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the marketing side of this real quick?
Let's get into it.
Okay.
Yes, this has been so overall it has been heavily criticized by news outlets, by experts, by creators, by literally everybody. Why? Because people are concerned about spreading misinformation and how this was marketed. What is your opinion so far?
I could see external pressures put in from their marketing department, from their investors.
Let's talk about that.
To market it a certain way.
Who are their investors?
I don't know.
Tom Brady.
Oh, the GOAT.
Peter Jackson.
Oh.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Paris Hilton. Tiger Woods.
What?
Bunch of other people. So a lot of celebrity investors, and then like Peter Jackson alone put in $10 million. And then a lot of other investors who aren't necessarily celebrities with a ton of money. You guys have to, this is a for-profit company, okay?
Yeah.
Like they have a lot of people that have put a lot of money in that are wanting to get a lot of money back. So yes, there's absolutely incentive to make big headlines, to make a lot of money.
I think their market cap, or like their evaluate, is $2 billion, right?
I don't know.
I think so. I heard that from Hank, pretty sure. Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressures, and like that feels very Hollywood how they marketed it. In the silver lining, you can say all you want, all the negative things you want about it. It's getting people to, this sounds like such a college thing to say, but like, oh, it's getting people to talk about it.
Sure.
Like we're talking about conservation in a way that we've never talked about on a large scale, and how we reverse it, the human role in this. And people are like, this money would be better used for real conservation work to protect the species that we have. That would be nice if we would do that, but humans don't always do the smart, most efficient thing. And it's getting people excited to at least talk about it. So the silver lining is discussion. Yay.
Discussion and driving funds towards conservation work, right? So yes, there's the argument of like, why aren't we putting these funds into saving these species that are just now going extinct or that are critically endangered? Why are we bringing back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? The Colossal Sciences CEO, Ben Lamb, said in a video with Coyote Peterson, on the path to all of our de-extinction projects, we try to pair the animal we're de-extincting with that of its closest living relative or cousin species that's threatened. So, yes, they are claiming to have de-extincted the direwolf. At the same time, they are cloning red wolves, which are critically endangered in the wild.
Yeah.
They've done 4 cloning of red wolves, which could be really, really great because there's obviously a genetic bottleneck in that population because there's so few of them in the wild. And they're also doing work with northern white rhinos. They have done research on northern quolls as well. That's an interesting one to talk about. So, sorry, that threw me.
They're also looking to go after woolly mammoths, the dodo, the thylacine, and the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I think the bottlenecking issue that we run into, which if anybody doesn't know what bottlenecking is when you get such a small population size of an animal, you only have so many genes to pass around, and then you start having genetic issues inside those populations. But what is really cool that Colossal is doing is you can, using this CRISPR technique, you can change up and get rid of the bottlenecking issues, and you can engineer a synthetic species that can then, change, go into the population and help get rid of that bottleneck.
There are some people probably that are like, we shouldn't touch that. Like, we shouldn't do that. Or we shouldn't play God. Whatever you may be thinking. I ran into this problem as an agriculture student, right? People are like, no GMOs. I don't want any GMOs in my food. I want natural food. Sometimes yes. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes no. Sometimes you want to be able to genetically modify a rice crop so that it's more drought resistant, so that more people are able to grow it with less water. That's a really good thing for humanity. For colossal biosciences, cane toads, anybody in Australia? Cane toads are invasive in Australia. They have a toxin that's deadly to pretty much every endemic predator in Australia. Devastating. Cane toads are like a huge problem. Predators in South America, where cane toads are from, have some immunity to their toxin because they've had so much time to evolve to deal with it, right? So by tweaking one gene in the critically endangered northern quoll, which we'll pull up a picture of here, to mimic the version of the gene that has evolved in South America, the northern quoll population can be 3,000 times more resistant to cane toad toxin. Just by tweaking that one gene.
That's cool.
Which is really incredible and is really like an exciting example of a way where we could use this technology to step in to essentially like
to fix
a mistake that we caused, right? With a human solution.
People are like, don't play God. We've been playing God for a long time.
Yeah, no, we've been doing that for a long time. Anyway, so there's a lot of really awesome practical conservation implications or applications here. The research is really, really exciting. But yeah, in the wrong hands could be really bad.
Right. We started talking about the marketing side of things.
Yeah.
But we kind of veered off from that, which is fine. But bringing it back, I want to talk to you because about marketing. How do you communicate science in a fun way? And I think you're really good at that because you do what's called hiding the broccoli.
Yeah.
So you still find ways to make it fun, ethical, and informative. And I think what Colossal did was just, I think as their marketing department, PR was like, let's ignore a little bit of the science and like, let's stretch this a little bit and let's get as many headlines as we possibly can. And I was watching some of the videos from Colossal, and you did have some verbiage from the scientists that kind of like hinted at a different internal message that's different from the one that they put out. A more scientific message internally and how they understand it. And I think that they came in and edited it in a certain way to make you could see some cuts where the scientists were about to say something else and they got cut so it would not change the narrative of their story. And I don't think internally with the scientists that they necessarily, I would assume they don't probably necessarily agree with the full message that they put out from the PR marketing side of Colossal. But I think this will be a cool way for them to get headlines, views, and get people started talking about it, get them excited. So I think, personally, if I was looking at it from internally on their team, I think it'd be worth kind of the little bit of stretch to get this much viewership. I think it'll be, all in all, better for conservation than worse for it.
I'm glad that you think that, because I don't think that I do.
Okay.
And I think that makes it a really interesting conversation. So Hank Green said in one of his videos, he was like, one of the most important parts, I'm quoting, but this is not the exact quote. He said something like, one of the most important parts of my job is popularizing science, but a more important part of my job is saying true things.
Right.
You know? And I think that that's a really, really, really important thing to say, because yes, there's like value in getting people enthused about science things. And I've had this conversation briefly on my stream before, and it's going to turn into a tangent.
Okay.
Does the ends justify the means? You see this a lot in the creator space. In the creator space, you see people doing more and more extreme things, in the wildlife creator space specifically.
Right.
The more extreme things that you do, the more clicks that you get.
Yep.
Does getting those clicks justify the means of what you're trying to do if you're trying to educate people? An excellent example of this that you guys are probably already thinking of is Brave Wilderness or Coyote Peterson. This is something that I've talked about on my stream before, or my live stream before. So Brave Wilderness is really, really famous for having videos about, this is a separate topic, but having videos about bugs stinging them, right?
Right.
Or getting bit by venomous snakes or getting stung by bugs, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the videos that do the best.
Those are crazy.
I have always had an issue with sensationalizing the danger that bugs present to people, because people are already, or animals in general, right? Especially animals that are already misunderstood, like snakes, like bugs. And while those generate tons of clicks, Coyote Peterson, I've watched lots of his videos. He does a really, really great job in a lot of them explaining that they're actually not out to hurt you.
Sure.
Granted, in the videos, they do trap them and then induce, or like,
stress them,
cause them to sting them. But he does a good job, and I think that he does love wildlife, and I think he tries to explain to people that they're not as bad as you think, or that they're not out to get you, and he does a lot of really great educational messaging.
Sure.
The problem that I have with that model is, as a creator, I'm very aware that there is a huge difference between impressions and what people are actually watching.
Right.
Like the watch time of that video. Videos on YouTube are getting millions and millions of impressions, and headlines, news headlines, millions and millions of impressions. The amount of people that are actually watching through that video and learning, or clicking on that article and reading the whole story, astronomical difference.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
So the thing that's not so great, or that is not true, or bad for animals, or whatever it may be that is getting the clicks, that's what people are walking away thinking.
Or like you're talking about impressions. So like if you're scrolling through YouTube, you just see a thumbnail, Kaiju Peterson getting bit by a scorpion.
Right.
And then they keep scrolling past because they're like, oh my God, scorpions. Like that just puts it in their brain. That scorpion sting, it hurts. I have to kill every single scorpion I see.
Yeah.
Without even clicking in and seeing the full story.
More specifically, like his videos will be like getting stung by a deadly scorpion, right?
Yeah.
Or like getting stung by a hornet, very aggressive.
Right.
Or getting stung by the meanest bee on the planet.
Sure.
Right? So people see that title and they see that thumbnail and they're like, bees are aggressive, bees are mean, and scorpions are deadly. The amount of people that see that and take that message away compared to the amount of people that go in that video, watch the whole thing, and come out of it being like, okay, yes, they have venom, but it's not, or whatever educational message is put into that video, it's just not comparable. And I think in this situation, same concept, different content, having a headline that is not true leads millions of people to think that that's the case, and a very small percentage of people to actually get down to it and be like, oh, it's not actually like this. It's just what they said.
Right.
For this instance, what are the implications? Like, what harm could that cause? My least generous opinion is that it could cause people to be like, oh, we can do this now, so what's the big deal?
Right.
Right? Like, oh, animals can go extinct, but we can de-extinct them now,
Right.
or we can bring them back, so it's all good.
Right.
That's a problem. My other least generous take is that when there's a lot of people coming out saying that this is not real information, when people are catching on to that, it's going to lead people to trust science even less.
That's a good point.
And I think that's a big problem for us. But my most generous, on the other side of that, is that people are excited about wolves, that people are excited about conservation technology, and are excited that everyone's talking about it and it becomes like a cool thing. And an open conversation. I'm yapping, I'm sorry.
No, I like this.
I think that one thing that Colossal Biosciences is doing really well, granted it is weird to see, I will acknowledge, is social media. Like, they have made headlines, they have been all over the news. They also have all their own socials, and it admittedly is weird to see a company, like a research company, science company, farm. Like, it's just kind of strange. For example, let's pull up a couple of their TikToks and show how they're reaching people. Admittedly, I kind of like them. They're kind of cute.
I didn't go down this rabbit hole. This is cool.
It's fascinating. So here's one of their TikToks. They're using like trending audio. They have videos of their cute puppies.
I was relieved that it was just a babby. That's when I takes closer look and realize.
No way.
Fat babby.
Right? So this is from Colossal Biosciences account. Here's another one.
Smart.
Where they're doing like trending audio.
With like, yeah.
And they have like edited pictures of these puppies. It is reaching young people. It is popularizing science in the media. I will also say this account is not all this. It's not all memes and like junk. Like, they are hiding the broccoli a little bit, because I do stuff like this too, not this.
Right.
It's an edited picture of hats on the baby wolves. But anyway, they do have like real educational stuff in that account, and then they have fun stuff that they're farming and whatever. They also have, did you see they made a response video to Hank Green. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, we should watch party it or something. Yesterday. So Hank Green made the 2 videos about direwolves, and then they made a video in response, and it's like a react video. Like, it's like stuff I would do if I had like beef with somebody. Like, if I had beef with another streamer or something, and they made a video about me, and you sit there and you watch it, and you're like, and then you pause it, and you're like, actually, that's what they did. Check it out.
Is it? Oh, they got the scientists
But
doing
Hank,
this.
if you'd like to have a discussion at some point, I am happy to do that.
There's a biotechnology company called Colossal that is attempting to de-extinct various animals, and they have just claimed that they have de-extincted their first animal, not just their first animal, the first animal to ever be de-extincted. And that claim does not, in my opinion, hold up to scrutiny.
Well,
Okay.
let's talk about what de-extinction really means. The IUCN Species Survival Commission
Audio
defines
listeners,
de-extinction as, quote,
they're
the process of
doing
creating
Hank's
an
video and then
organism
pausing
that
it, and then they
resembles
have
an
a
extinct
scientist from
species,
Colossal
end quote.
responding.
So according to that definition, we do believe it's accurate to call this the world's first de-extinction. But I'll get more into the specific genomic edits we made later.
However, there are a number of truly remarkable things that are part of this announcement that allow me to still be excited about it, despite the fact that I think they're saying some stuff that they shouldn't say.
Thanks, kind of.
So this video is
Okay,
the good,
pause it.
the
Is that not like weird to see like a biotech company do like reaction videos to Hank Green? And look at the thumb.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, they're really doing that.
Like they're farming Hank Green. It's her and Hank Green in the thumbnail with like a bright color and it says response to Hank Green. Like they're farming.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. Because off the bat, okay, my honest initial reaction, I was like, ugh. Like, stop. Don't
Sure.
do that. Like, I thought it was kind of yuck. But I also complain all the time about how these conservation organizations aren't reaching enough people because
Sure.
they're not using social media well. And what's the point of doing all this ivory tower research if nobody knows what you're doing
Right.
and nobody's there to support it and no one cares? Like, the whole point is science communication. So I would be a hypocrite to say that I think it's wrong that they're doing this. But I will say that it's a slippery slope. I don't think that they've crossed a line,
Right.
though. Like, I watched the whole video. I think it was pretty valid. Like, I think it's good that they're addressing public concern.
That is cool.
And backing it up, Hank called for more research. He called for research to be released.
Yeah, I saw
And
that.
they released it. And
Cool.
she said in the video, she's like, sorry about that. Here's the paper. Which
So,
is awesome.
I didn't know they released that because last time I heard, so Colossal was claiming that the gray wolf was the actually the closest relative to the direwolf, but there was a paper in 2021 that came out that said that it wasn't the closest. It was closer to like dingoes and stuff like that. Jackals, that was right. Jackals, like 5.9 or 6.2 million years ago, something like that. And Colossal was saying without releasing the paper that there was some genetic mixing where direwolves potentially mated with gray wolves. Did you look at that?
Yeah,
paper?
she went and I didn't look at the paper, but she explained it in the video, and then she put like a screenshot of the paper and said the title and whatever. Zoom out. I think it's very important that they're addressing public concern. I think it's huge that they're tapping into social media and tapping into like young people and getting them interested in it. Does that mean I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I think it's fine that they spread some what I consider to be misinformation, at least from what I've read. Someone who's not a geneticist, but like, no, I would prefer if the headline was, and granted, like none of these would do as well, right? But
Sure.
like, this is what a direwolf would have looked like, or like, here's a replica of a direwolf, or like we now have a replica of a direwolf.
Right.
Not as good as we brought back the direwolf.
Right.
But I think that it's important, especially if we're reaching this many people, to not be spreading any misinformation. And it gets weird, for sure. It's definitely funky.
I would do the title, "We Brought Back the Direwolf."
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Kinda. Almost. Like a little like asterisk. Learn more, like.
We basically brought, well, the asterisk kind of defeats the like headline thumbnail title.
Right. It does. But like that's how you still get a, clickbaity-ish. I think in this instance, I think where you're at with how you communicate science and where Hank Green is at, I agree with that stance, and that is the stance that I follow. Now, do I think what they did was super, super wrong? No. Like, I think it's stretching it. It's trying to get the get people to talk about it, get conservation exciting. I think they'll change their tone on this moving forward, though. I think they'll now that they're in the public spotlight, they'll probably be a little bit better about it because I think there's some clever ways to kind of still make it clickbaity.
I do think the next stage in this whole journey is seeing what they do next.
Yeah.
Because also, one thing we haven't brought up that people might be concerned about, for these 3 individuals, the direwolves, quote unquote, they are in like a 2,000 plus acre preserve. The location is kept private because they're very valuable right now. So it's not like they opened it up and they're like, come see them in this cage, you know? So they seem to be concerned about welfare, and that's wonderful. They are doing lots of conservation work with species that are still around or critically endangered. That's wonderful. And they're responding to public concern and releasing more research in response, and I think that's wonderful. I think that so long as if they keep applying these technologies to things that are actually going to help our planet and not just put a lot of money into a lot of already rich people's pockets,
right?
It could be really cool. I think it could be really, really awesome, and I think it could be really, really disappointing. But we don't really know yet.
Right. It could go a lot of ways. On the animal welfare side of things, their company's chief animal officer is Matt James, who was worked at Dallas Zoo and Zoo Miami as a senior director of animal care, where he managed the welfare of 7,000 animals representing 500 species. So they've got some real talent. I mean, I looked at their list of employees. They've got it was like 120 scientists or something like that on staff. They have a lot of really talented people there, and I think they're not planning on releasing these wolves. By the way, like they're not.
That is another important thing to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they're going to be in human care for their whole life. That's another topic that people are like, how do I feel about that? But like, they couldn't release them back out into the wild anyway. There's no habitat or the prey for them because like historically what they think they preyed on was a lot of horses, occasionally sloths, mastodons, bison, camels, but like big dire wolf packs would take down adult bison, huge adult bison. So like there's just those big mega hoofed fauna aren't around anymore really. So it would be really dumb. So that's good that they're not doing that.
I think for that part of the conversation is like, if this generates, which it will and is, if this generates a ton of money and a ton of attention and gets this organization resources to do a lot with their Red Wolf program that they've already started, and that makes a huge difference, great. If those funds go into other things that are not really benefiting conservation or our planet, sad.
We'll have to watch and see. The issue, for-profit endeavors with animals, it just opens up a lot more avenues to go wrong.
Yeah.
So there are some places that do okay with it. Others that just find an easy way to make a buck. And when you have investors doing that kind of pressure, you know, it just opens up a door for a lot of bad. So I'm an optimist. I hope it all goes really well. I hope it all helps conservation a ton. I think at the least they're putting these papers out. They're not putting things behind patents just yet. They're not trying to be closed doors, hush hush about everything. It's going to be open source. So if for some reason investors want to start making money from this and go a different direction, then I think there are other institutions, conservation organizations that can pick up this research and go forward with it. Like, I wonder.
They are doing open source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
which
like
is sick.
San Diego Zoo, their frozen zoo will probably pick up on a lot of this, I would expect, and start utilizing it for their own endangered species work. Yeah. Which is really smart. And I do love that it's open source.
Yeah. That's true. That is also another point.
Yeah.
For them. So sorry if you didn't get like the black and white yay or nay that you were looking for in listening to this episode, but it's not a black and white topic. I think it's very, very complex, and it really is. We're just gonna have to wait and see where it goes. Overall, I think it's really, really exciting technology, and I'm excited to see people excited about animals.
I land on, I have a lot of curiosity and skepticism when it comes to this, like I said at the beginning, but I'm optimistic that this will be good. And if it's not, we'll deal with it later if it's not. But I think it has a lot more positives than the negatives.
Yeah.
For conservation. So that's huge.
If you guys like this episode format and you want to see us talk more about some crazy conservation headlines, let us know. And go check us out on Patreon. And like and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.
Goodbye.